Oh my God. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back.
Go get a backwards hat. What am I knocking up? Come on.
Dude, you need a backwards hat. Alexis needs a backwards hat. Hi, Alexis.
My head's too big for a backwards hat. I have a big ass head.
What's your
am I allowed
go-to hat? What do you usually
A
rock?
beanie for sure.
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
allowed to curse on here? I'm
Hundred
pretty
percent. Say fuck, shit, cock, balls, all of
I'll
it.
say-
You don't have to celebrate it.
That's a part of my repertoire. I have like Tourette's when I'm like playing video games or something and I'm just yelling.
Okay, hold on. We actually have a very important question before we really get deep into it. So it looks like you have the same microphone that I have and I'm very curious to know what your settings are at. We talk a lot about like our settings.
cheeks?
So yeah, so in the back, so face it right there are yes. So what
What does it look
Or-
like that you're setting
yeah.
us at?
It looks like a butt.
Yeah, okay, she's on
Yes.
cheeksies.
so she's on butt cheeks. Okay, so that's the one to go with.
We got
Yeah,
three
I-
butt
the whole
cheeks in a
time.
road, Mike.
I looked
love
this
it.
up because I'm like so anal about these
Uh-huh.
things. And so when I first got it, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what the gain means or anything like that. So I just went
Mhm.
online and looked what other people were doing, and I don't know what it is, but it definitely looks like a butt.
Butt
Like,
cheeks
it
for the
looks
win.
like a
for
heart,
sure.
but it looks more.
No,
like
we've been calling it
It's-
butt cheeks the
it's
whole
butt
time.
cheeks.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
look like
So
butt cheeks,
for
for
sure.
sure.
It's definitely butt cheeks. Well, Alexis, welcome to Still Single. It's our podcast about dating and love, and the age-old question of when will we meet our soulmates.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being on, and I did a little dive on your Instagram, and if for our audience, if you don't mind, can you just tell us like who you are in a nutshell, or like what your voice is on social and what you're trying to accomplish with your content?
Yeah. So I have changed a little like small background about me. I've like changed my thing that I've been on social media. I like was on Tumblr. I don't know if you guys know what Tumblr is.
Tumblr.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Tomsies.
Like yeah, I had like a
We're that age demographic to rock
I
Tumblr
figure-
for
I figure-
sure.
I don't know how old all of you guys are.
Uh-huh.
I like think you're over 30, right?
Mid
Yeah.
30s, mid 30s.
Okay, cool. But I had Tumblr and I started posting about like nutrition, and then I came over to Instagram, and like I went to school to I went to school to be a high school history teacher, but that never happened because I realized I don't like kids. Like other people's kids, but don't like children of my own. And then I went to get my certification in holistic health coaching, did that for a little bit, and basically from 2012 until now, I have changed from being like a vegan nutrition page, and then I was a paleo nutrition page, and then I did fitness for a while, and then I did network marketing, and then I got really into what I do now, which is like life and business coaching. I kind of a combination of both. I don't like just like helping people with business, like here's strategy and logistics, and here's how to show up on social media. Like that stuff's really cool, but I like to help people with like kind of the underneath. I always say it's like the root versus the aid. And so right now I'm really helping ADHD entrepreneurs like make business fun, because we love to make everything really stressful and everything has to be really fucking hard. And so just being that unique, different, authentic version of you on social media and not being apologetic about it, and then like making business fun, but doing it from the angle of like, let's talk about the reason why some of the things you're doing in your business are so hard, not just like, hey, stop procrastinating by getting a really awesome planner at Target, but let's figure out like what you're actually running from. So I'm making you get deep most of the time.
I love this. I feel like I need to get a new planner. I don't really have a plan. Do you have like a planner, like a physical one that you like you open up and you like yeah.
I have my own, and this is what I teach people is like, there's so much shit on social media that's like, here's the $1 million strategy that's going to make
Right.
like real bro marketing. Like this is the secret
I
to
got into a
everything.
TikTok hole last night about these are 8 ways to create $10,000 of passive income a month.
Yeah, like, and all of the things work, but it's finding out what works for you. So for me personally, people with ADHD typically hate like schedules and planners and things because it makes us feel really caged in, but we do need some structure. So like, I don't even know where it is, but I have a regular paper planner, but that's literally for my like to-do list of the day. It's like 3 things. And then my like calendar is on like Google Calendar. So I use a mixture of like basically my notes app, a planner, and like Google Calendar. And that's it. I keep it really simple. People think I have like some magical app, and I'm like, no, I just keep everything very simple. I think people overcomplicate everything all the time.
Especially
we're-
dating.
We're
Yeah.
down with the going
Yeah.
deep. I'm curious. What do you
That's kid teach.
just because you mentioned this, what would you say is the number one if you had to make a pie chart? What would the Pac-Man part of the pie be for what most people are running from?
Running from when it comes to what? In
Well,
life and
just I
business and
guess your
dating?
clients.
Um, people a lot of times think that it's fear of failure, but I think fear of success is the biggest thing, because essentially fear of success is more of like fear of change in disguise, because we self-sabotage. Because even in dating, like, if I men or women, like if I work really hard on this thing and I change my career, or I change my life, or I change whatever, I'm probably going to lose some friends. I'm probably going to have to be in different environments with different habits. And that means that my life's going to change. So I'm going to continue to procrastinate and self-sabotage and tell myself that I'm just lazy, when I'm actually just afraid of all the things that are going to change, which means like I'm no longer going to have these friends, or no longer going to have these people in my life, or whatever. And so I think ultimately it would be like fear of success, which is really fear of change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm it's just resonating with me because I'm like, I'm just so afraid of success, I guess,
Yeah,
because
yeah, I agree with that too, and I guess like I'm seeing both sides of it in the sense of like the value of I think as we get older and just I said this a lot as I would come home from I lived in LA for 9 years, and I would come back and meet up with like my Chicago friends and guys that I went to high school with, and it was kind of interesting where I was like, hey, would you ever want to move back to Chicago? And it was like, I love these guys, but I'm not envious of their lives. Of like, it just felt like high school expanded, like of just so and so hooked up with so and so, like that went to that. It just like didn't seem like there was like much evolution. And I'm still good friends with a majority of them. But I think one thing that I've learned along the way is that like people come and go in your lives, and sometimes they're really intense and you have a close relationship, and then it kind of like fizzles. And it's not that there's like not every fizzled relationship is like bad blood. It's just kind of like we went our separate ways, and I wish that person the best, and we can reconnect and all that kind of stuff. And but it is interesting to hear like, you have to remind yourself so much of like, well, what's the worst that can happen? But it's like, all right, well, what's the best that can happen? We can't even imagine what that actually looks like to do that, but that concerns of the self, like being diagnosed with ADHD last year officially. I always like joked that I had it, but like officially came through. And so like realizing all the self-sabotage and certain things that you do to like hold yourself back, like you have to remind yourself that you're the one that like you're only competing with yourself, and you're the only one that's like holding yourself back.
Yeah, I think it's just really scary for people to, what's that quote? I'm a history major, so I should know this, but like I think it was like JFK or something, where it's like we're not afraid of like what we can't be, but afraid of our greatest potential. Something that's not the quote at all, but it's something along those
Yeah.
lines. And
That
I
we're
think like,
powerful beyond measure.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. I should know it, but I think it's and it's not just and this is the work that I do. It's not just identifying that's the case, because I'll share that with people. At first say fear of success, and they're like, why would I not want to be successful? And I'm like, well, you have to think about it deeper than that. But it's not just identifying that you might be afraid of that. Cause like Jordan, what you're saying, having kind of being like, okay, I need to be okay with this. And I have a lot of potential, but it's not always really easy for people to do that, especially if you have trauma, especially if you have certain behaviors role model for you, especially if you still are involved, like you stay close to your family. And a lot of them have these similar mindsets, like the crab mentality. If you put a bunch of crabs in a barrel and one of them tries to crawl out, the other crabs will like try to pull them down. And so you have to
An
identify
actual
like,
thing.
yeah, no, that's like a thing. If you put crabs in a barrel and one of them tries to crawl out, like the other crabs will like actually.
they'll be like,
So
you ain't leaving,
interesting.
buddy.
Yeah.
You could go to like test it out if you want. If you
No,
want
no,
to.
no. That's such an interesting analogy. And I think people talk about like, your friends are the ones that like want to see your success and don't get like jealous about that, or like vengeful, or, spiteful that you're trying to go after your dreams, like wanting success.
Yeah. And I think that when you can know that that's the case and identify like, again, your environments and like your habits and whatnot that are creating more of that pattern, you also have to go even deeper to identify the parts of you, and this is kind of like not getting in like heavy into like trauma work, but like you have to identify the parts of you, like the little girl, little boy that is like holding on to this identity, because if you don't, you can like Instagram motivational quote your way, all the way home, but it's not going to change like innately what's going on. And so I think like identifying that, and that can be through working with a coach, therapy, like journaling, meditating, whatever like works for anybody. There's no right way, but I think if you don't, not like in this doomsday, oh, everything's going to suck, but if you don't, you'll keep running into these patterns. Like even I know this is about like, this podcast is about dating. Like you can, even I don't know like what your guys like belief is when you think about the word manifestation. I know some people are like, what is that? That's like asking about astrology. But like just in terms of what you put out is what you get back. If you are noticing even in dating, because even though I'm a life and business coach, relationship stuff always comes up with my clients. Like if you notice that you're running into the same issues with dating, or like whether it's the same kind of people that you don't want to date, or the same patterns that are happening, you again could have this fear of like, what if I do get into a relationship and then it becomes more serious? And like, what does all of that mean? What am I actually afraid of? Because you could really truly want a relationship, but if you're afraid of that, whether it's like afraid of commitment, but just fear of change, there's so many things that you can be doing to self-sabotage without realizing it. And then you're like, why isn't dating working? And it's because of those things. But
100%. I mean,
I know, Alex, you want to say something really quick, but I just want to jump back. Is the quote is the quote a Maslow quote? Because I Googled it, and is it not a Maslow quote?
I don't know. I thought it was like one of the Kennedys or like Teddy Roosevelt or something.
Yeah,
I feel
sounds
like
like a Teddy Roosevelt kind of quote.
Okay, I'll keep looking then. Okay,
Read it. It's something
Alex.
along the lines. If it's the same one, it's like our greatest fear is not that we're not powerful, they're powerful beyond measure. Something like that.
Like
we fear our highest possibilities.
Dude,
Did he's so smart.
Dude, whatever. I was Ivy League grad, played Ivy League Division I lacrosse. It's not a big deal. People talking about it. It's not a big deal.
So the quote here that I'm looking at is, we are generally afraid to become that which we can glimpse in our most perfect moments under conditions of great courage.
That's not it, but that's
a different one.
But that goes along with what we're talking about.
Okay,
anyway.
Alex, go ahead. I'll keep looking. Go. It's all you. You have the floor.
No, I was gonna be Spice. Also, I saw a dude in the gym today. I want to like. There's so many tangents here that we could go on, but I saw a guy in this shirt. He had a shirt that said "spicy," and I was like, I almost was like, dude, where'd you get this shirt? I got to get it for my boys.
Is this an inside joke that I'm not included in?
Well, we've all done this for 40 episodes. We're also like very dear friends. So, when you're at that comfort level, you can just like, you can come as you are. And so sometimes we get a little spicy with each other.
I like it. I like it. Spice is good.
I mean, there's so many different ways we can go. Like there's so many avenues from like, I have the tangent of like, we can talk about like our traumas. We can talk about like literally what's on my mind is I've heard now that girls think a booty is hot on a guy. I don't have a butt. And so I'm literally in the gym trying to get a dumper. So like, what you all want to talk about?
You got that.
I love all
Alexis.
of these tangents. We don't have to make it serious. That's typically what I'm talking about on a lot of podcasts anyway. So like we can go I'm open for anything. I love tangents. ADHD brains. That's like what we do.
We do a Teddy Roosevelt quote, and then he's like, I just need a dumper. I need a bigger dumper.
Still single, bro.
That's what Teddy was actually talking
about. Where did you see this? Where did this come to like a revelation for you? That
I just kind of heard, a scuttlebutt. You just kind of hear this.
So the question is, do you want to have a dumper? Do you want a girl that wants you to have a dumper? Do you want a girl that doesn't care if you have one or not?
You know what? And okay, well, here we go. Now it's all coming full circle. One of my greatest fears is that I am not enough. And we're all part of a men's group together. And like, I work with a lot of high achieving guys. I think that is butts. I think that is but it's like, okay, so I got a new car. Now I'm going to get abs. Now I'm going to get a dumper. Like at what? Okay, I'm reaching this career mile mark. At what point of external validation, you know what I'm saying? Because there's always going to be a new external validation, whether it's a bank account or a mile measure or the house or the Instagram post, there's always a new, like, now I'm good enough. Right.
Yeah.
And unless you're just not. And I'll be honest, like I literally have been waking up and telling myself like, I am fully loved. I am fully loved. I am fully loved. And the truth is I am trying to fully love myself, but I'm going to a God place because I'm like, you know what? Even if I can't love myself, I do believe that there's a creator that loved me. And that's my beliefs. But
Yeah.
it's like that is what's trying to work for me to fill my tank, because the I am not enough is so deep in our society, and especially for our generation. It shows differently in men and women. So I'm a dude, and I just know that for us guys, it shows up in, are you tough enough? Have you earned enough? Are you hardworking enough? Are you good enough?
Yeah. And that's the thing with like what you were saying, like it's the car, it's the this, it's the that. You can keep chasing that unless you can identify where, and like so many men, and I'm so glad you guys have that space where you allow men to like open up and be vulnerable, because it's so needed. And sorry, my dogs keep coming in and out like the wrong
That
way.
or a ghost.
Such bad timing. We're like trying to get deep and they're just in and out, barking and barking. But it's so a lot of men struggle with that, like not feeling like they're enough. It's, they got to be strong, they got to be tough, they got to be all the things, they got to serve, they got to do all of it. And unless you can identify for you specifically, because everybody's like trauma and experience is different, why that is so hard, you can, and the affirmations are good. Hell yes. Like telling yourself that you're enough, finding something that you connect to in terms of your purpose, whatever you believe in, God, Buddha, like a monkey that lives in the sky, like it doesn't matter. If you can find that purpose, that's going to be really important. But there are specific parts of you, like you didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden you just didn't believe you were enough. It could be due to society, parents, school, past girlfriend, like whatever it was, that essentially, the way I explain it to my clients is like, and this is just how I see it, there's like this core moment or memory or a bunch of memories that kind of create this idea that, let's say, for example, that you're not enough. And then because when we're younger, like we absorb that and we take that as, okay, this is law, this is how I have to see the world. And then that's your belief. And then you walk around life, your whole life, through school and through relationships and through all the things, unbelieving that. And so you repeat the pattern, whether you realize it or not. And there's something in our brain called the RAS. It's the reticular activating system, which essentially is like this, what you focus on is what you manifest type of thing. Like your brain just hyper fixates on it. And so if you have this belief that I'm not enough, then you walk through your whole life with these blinders on. That's like, look at all these things that prove that I'm not enough. And you end up getting into relationships that make you feel like you're not enough. You end up consuming content because your RAS is paying attention to the things that reinforce the idea that you're not enough. And so you have the memory, you have the pattern, and then it's just this like ball of shit that just makes you feel more not enough. So the affirmations are great. Meditating on it, journaling on it is great, but taking that time out to literally have conversations with the parts of you. And this can be like your younger self, your teenage self, your whatever, and letting them know, like giving them the time and attention to actually be heard. This might seem like a little bit weird, but you're literally talking to those parts of yourself, because usually they've grown up their whole lives, especially as men, just being told that like, suck it up. Yeah, you might not feel good enough, but just keep proving yourself. And then they never really got to get heard. And so when you listen to them again through inner child work, meditation, journaling, whatever works for you, there's 1,010 things. And then you help offer them a new perspective, like, hey, and this is where kind of the affirmations can really come in of like, we understand that we've been told our whole lives that we're not enough, but what if we shifted it to this perspective? And then you have to go and practice with that new perspective, with that conversation you have with your younger self over and over and over again. And that's when all the things that you're trying to believe right now become easier and they become more second nature, because you're doing it at a root level versus just like slapping an Instagram quote that makes you feel better for 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm having some feelings over here. This is resonating because I grew up with a very, very tough stepdad, and he was very critical. And I then also had a champion mom who was always like, "You're the best, Robbie, and you're so great." And I feel like it's manifested in my self-talk is quite negative, which I feel is my stepdad's voice or whatever. And then I also gravitate towards women who are generally more like cheerleader or enthusiastic, or more like, you're so great, and kind of like they are providing those affirmations. And I think something that I've been challenging myself over the last like year and a half of me being still single is building those tools to like talk myself out of the negative self-talk and also boost myself up by myself without like becoming codependent on a partner to do that.
Yeah.
And
And I think
it's very challenging.
Yeah, I think with partners, like it through my own experience and through like my work is that, and I think this also speaks to a lot more on the women's side, but maybe for men as well, is like when they say like you have to love yourself before somebody can love you.
Mhm.
I think that's like yes and no. Yes, you do need to learn to give yourself those things, but it's a 50-50 thing, like, or maybe even a little bit more. Like we need, as our own selves, need to be able to give ourselves the love and attention and the needs that we have. But you also can find a partner that can give you those things. And if they can't, as long as you know that I'm trying to give myself those things, I'm doing the work, I'm doing what I need, but I have these needs, I think that's fine. But so what you're saying to like finding those people that are like the cheerleaders, I think that you the more you work on like all the things that you're working on, like giving those things to yourself, I think you'll end up finding someone that can still have that, like, it's going to make you feel good cheerleader-esque, but it won't be something that you're relying on to like make you feel good. It's kind of like this, I make myself feel good every day, but holy shit, I found a partner that like boosts that. That's like, extra bonus points at the end of the day.
I want to call it back to just like this idea of patterns and how sometimes patterns in dating or business are connected to past trauma. I've definitely noticed a little pattern in my like dating where it's like a fast burn and I get very excited very quickly and then I like immediately like pull out and I'm just like, nope, not for me.
Is this like the episode where you like stopped dating the girl because she held chopsticks weird?
Yes. She was
You
so
listen.
sweet.
You're listening, yeah.
She's like, is this episode 26 at minute mark 47 minutes?
Yeah. Rob is shallow.
No.
Yeah, no, I think there were other reasons other than the chopsticks, but in general, I've noticed a pattern over the last like year and a half where I get very excited, I almost enamored, and then I don't know, something happens where I just go, "Boop, this isn't it," and I get very scared very quickly, and I feel so bad because I have to kind of end, I'm ending a relationship, and I feel guilty, and I feel like just the worst person imaginable. And I don't know what that's tied to. I think I got burned pretty bad in my last serious relationship, so I feel like there's some fear there. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Alex and Jordan know why, or
well,
I don't know.
I don't want to like jump in and like try to necessarily coach you, but do you know what your like attachment style is?
I think you're just damaged, bro.
That's not
damaged goods. Dude,
no,
you're
but
damaged.
like,
Do you have a door behind you, or is that like
I got
blanket? No, not you, Alexis.
No. It's a psych. It's a white
gotcha.
psych. It's for like.
Gotcha.
But do you like? Are you familiar with attachment styles? Like
totally. My attachment styles are. I'll tell you right now. They are words of affirmation and physical touch.
No.
Those are love languages. But
those are love languages. My attachment style. Okay. Attachment style is definitely anxious attachment style. Like
really?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you know your attachment style, you know yourself best. But typically I see with like avoidant attachment styles with like new relationships, people with avoidant, and everybody can have like, if you actually take like the quiz, you'll see like you'll be like 36% anxious and so there still can be like avoidant in there, but typically people who are avoidant for different reasons, and we typically develop our attachment styles like as newborns. It's not like something that's like later on, like it can, again, the pattern can kind of like increase it, but usually it's way earlier in life. But avoidance typically when they get into relationships, because it's non-committal in the beginning and it's fun and your body's producing more, all the really good feel-good hormones like endorphins, serotonin, all the feel-good things. So your body is just, it's kind of like when you get hurt, if you guys all played sports, right? I think, but like if you get hurt and then your adrenaline's pumping and you don't feel any pain, it's kind of like that when you're in the new relationship. Like you're not worried about the commitment, you're not worried about anything because you feel so good. And then when things start to get a little bit more serious and that slow burn or that quick burn in the beginning kind of starts to die down, you're like, Oh my God. It's kind of fear of success. Like going back to the beginning. It's like,
Yeah, that's what
what's this going on? I'm gonna, and you don't even realize it. You're self-sabotage, and it's not you, your current adult self, that's running from it. It's probably your younger self. That's like, hey, listen, we got to get the fuck out of here. And
Right.
you want to stay. So it's navigating that. So again, I'm not telling you that you're avoidant. If you know that you're
I think I might be
the
avoidant.
anxious
Maybe I
avoidant.
switched from
Well, yeah, hold on real quick. So I'm unaware of 100% what my attachment styles are. And so I did a quick Google search as well. And so there are 4 major attachment styles. And so I'm just going to read this off. It's a very like, um, talk to me like a 5-year-old way of explaining
Nice.
each
That's
one.
a
So
good way to
That's what
do
we
that for
need.
people who don't
That's what we
know.
yeah.
need.
So there's 4 of them, and there's the anxious one, and it says, I want to be extremely emotionally close with others, but they abandon me. Then there's the fearful avoidant, which is I have trust issues and maintain distance from others. There's the avoidant, which is it is very important that I feel independent and self-sufficient. And then there's secure, which is I don't worry about being abandoned or about someone getting too close to me. That
Yeah,
one
that's
just
the
seems like a
good one.
lie. That one just seems
That's
like
the
a
one you
secure.
that one's
want.
lying to
Most
themselves.
people
Bunch
No
of
are
one's
not
liars.
secure.
It
No,
is a
there are some people that are secure, but I guess
they
it's
lack self-awareness if they're secure. No
Not
one's
buying
secure.
it.
well, no, like a lot of people will
Attachment
get to be secure. Like you can start as anxious or avoidant or fearful, avoidant, but and then get to secure. But there are some
styles.
people that like had those really awesome childhoods with nothing wrong and like
Yeah.
no issues, and they're just secure. But like secure is very uncommon. So yeah, but I would recommend taking the quiz. Getting familiar with your attachment style is really beneficial for especially for dating. Like if you are like looking to date to like get more serious, but typically the that's why I was saying I'm not saying that you're avoidant, but you could be avoidant if that's the case, because it's super common. It's like, oh my gosh, everything's awesome and fun, and then once like you get the ick or like something gets more serious, then or someone starts to get closer, that's when you want to book. Like I'm anxious. I'm like, be around me all the time, don't leave me. I mean, I've worked on it, of course, but like that's typically
I'm anxious.
yeah.
What do you do? Rob, what are you? Jordan?
I guess I'm avoidant. I don't know. I really
I want
thought
you to go like take a quiz on your own. I do not want to tell you that you are, but just something to look into.
okay. I'll definitely look into it. No, I've just noticed a pattern of like, yeah, I get really enamored, really excited, and then as soon as it takes that next step into more serious land, I get very scared.
Yeah. So like we could talk about like tips and tricks and things you could do for when that happens, to like even having just like, I don't know, checking in with yourself. I don't know if you journal at all, but like even having a conversation for people who like don't like journaling, because I do work with a lot of people who hate journaling. Even just like if you go for like a walk and you put your headphones in and you pretend that you're talking to someone, but you're just talking to yourself, like talk it out if you don't feel like writing it down. You can do that. Okay, like what am I feeling? Why is this scaring me? That can be beneficial. I call it like that's like a more surface level type of stuff. But if you want to make it so you, not that you never have that, but like that doesn't come up as often, you need to work on like that and understanding more about like that avoidant attachment, and working through that will make those moments happen less, versus you always trying to be reactive. You're going to be proactive, if that makes sense.
That does. No,
Yeah.
that does make a lot of sense.
Jordan, what are you? I know you're unfamiliar with it, but looking at
Yeah, I mean,
you probably
looking
have to
through it, I haven't taken the quiz officially like I have in like, the Myers-Briggs tests or things like that in the past. I would probably say that I'm avoidant, just by looking at this very like 5-year-old version of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of probably where I feel most connected with a
Yeah.
little bit of like fearful avoidant.
Yeah, I think understanding that can be so helpful. Like it's really helpful, of course, in relationships. Like knowing your love language is really important as well. But I think knowing that when going into dating, not so you can like, some people want to know that about their partner, which I think can be helpful, but it's just important to know that about yourself before going in, because you can know I'm having these reactions. It's like, I don't want this person to leave if you're anxious, or this person's getting way too fucking close. And you can know that you're not just going fucking crazy, or this person is doing it to you. There are things that are going on with yourself, and you can go, oh, like that's what I really like helping people do, is helping them understand themselves and feel seen. Because when you can do that, even with ADHD, when you find out you have ADHD and you're like thinking back on your entire life and you're like, it just helps you
Yeah.
give yourself more grace instead of being like, I'm
Mhm.
just like a lazy
No,
piece of
that like it was both like good and bad for me once like I got officially diagnosed and they started explaining more things and I was like, oh man. But also it was like it almost flipped this switch of like my brain's different, can't do like I don't know how to function anymore. Like this is officially and it really a spiral thing. But I wonder if we felt more comfortable talking about our attachment styles or a bit we are in like the dating realm of like a first date question is like what are your love languages, but never is it like what's your attachment style. It's more and like we're asking astrology of like what's your sign and not that like like Leos and Capricorns don't usually mix. And it's like, all right, well, there's so much of that I can kind of like, you know, drink the Kool-Aid on. Like, I do believe a lot of like astrology and there is interesting elements to it, but there needs to be a little bit both in business and dating and life in general of just like understanding your past traumas and why you behave the way that you do. I mean, that's where journaling, therapy, all that kind of stuff, like self-awareness kind of comes in.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's not everybody's going to necessarily, because I've thought about this, but like, not everybody's going to be comfortable having, and I don't think you should be asking necessarily on a first date, like, what's your attachment style? How's your trauma in your childhood? But like, if guy to girl, girl to guy, whatever, like if you can in my opinion, if I can ask that question and it's not going to scare you away, if it does scare you away, then probably wasn't going to work out anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not asking it on the first date, but knowing it for yourself and then knowing that about the other person. And like, if it's important to you, of course, like, them knowing their attachment style and how that affects them, just it's a lot of self-awareness because your attachment style affects everything. And it's typically your, relationship with your parents, again, earlier in life, but is also going to be affected for like how that, went.
And it's come up before, like Rob, you can talk about, like, it seems like in a lot of your connections with people, you trauma bond.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm trauma Bobby over here. I'm Bobby Troms.
Trauma Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a widower, Alexis, and my wife passed away 3.5 years ago, and she was the love of my life, and we had a child together. Like it's a tragic story, and it's very much my story. So when I go on a date with somebody, I talk about it, and it's just an immediate kind of it's an important share. It's just the truth of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that my vulnerability, and it's always honest, it allows, I think, the women that I date to just feel very comfortable sharing and being open, and that way we can have like a very deep connection very quickly. And I think that it's great. I mean, I've made some very solid connections dating and meeting women, and I don't know. I mean, I've tried to do some of the more surface, like, what's your 3 favorite fruit questions on dates, which is like one of Jordan's go-tos. And it's a great line.
Fruits.
Yeah. But I'm like, did I just really
So
fucking
good.
ask that? Like that? I can't even get behind this, but it's fun. Like it's fun where I'm like, do you want to have kids? Do you want to have more kids? And I get these questions out very quickly so that I know like if it's a fit, because I don't know if I'm really in this like I don't know. I'm in a conflicted place. I feel a transition coming out of maybe a little bit of a single, just dating, having fun energy into more of like, yeah, it would be nice to have like a girlfriend and like maybe a partner in crime.
Yeah, I think you asking those questions are at the end of the day, however anybody wants to treat dating and the questions they think are important, I think that's what matters. Like, I don't think there's anything, wrong with it. There's one thing you can kind of check in a little bit. And this can be, oh, well, definitely with ADHD, we just have this in common. But a lot of people with trauma, can tend to overshare. Because of that desire for like that connection. And so it's less about you sharing it with other people and that being wrong. It's sharing it with the right person.
Yeah.
Because if you share it with the wrong person, and that, it's the, the hard part of dating is like, how do I know if it's the right person to share with? But like, maybe, and this would be a process to figure out, not like a long process, but figuring out like what are the questions that maybe are like similar to those, but like a little bit more digestible, that crack open the shell of another person to let you know, like, this is a green flag that I could probably ask deeper questions, or like, they answered that a little bit odd. Like maybe I don't want to share that, because that's when the trauma bond stuff can happen, especially if it ends up being like a longer relationship. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I've experienced a gamut of reactions to my story, and I can tell pretty quickly. I'm like, that wasn't the best reaction, or like she's not empathetic. But I don't like. It's not like we talk only about that. It's it's very much it's a topic, and usually sometimes it doesn't even come up. Like it's not a part of it. But
I mean, but it's if you're all gonna move forward, it's like you would have to keep a lot tight to the chest, because like for you to not bring that up, like you would have to not talk about Leia, your daughter.
yeah, I mean the background on my phone is my daughter. Like it's
Right.
not. This is who
No,
I
it's
am.
just some random. It's just like it's a stock image.
Yeah, it's
Is that not like, I haven't been on dating apps in 8 years. So
I'm so jealous.
well, I'm going through a divorce, so that's fun.
Nice.
But is that something like in terms of sharing on the app? Like, do you share that? Like,
Oh, yeah.
not like that I'm a widower, but like that you have a daughter. Like, do you have pictures of her on?
I'm on one dating app right now, and I have one picture of us. But yeah, I've gone as far as like being like, yeah, I am a widower and single dad, and like I don't know if it necessarily attracts or it. I don't know if it's an attractive point or if it's not. I've had women
For the
be
right
like,
woman, it is.
right.
Yeah,
Like I've definitely had women be like, I love that you have a kid. It's like it's beautiful.
I mean, I think for like Alex is saying, like if you the right person, not only might that like fit who it's not necessarily like I want to date somebody with a kid, but like they are committed to something. It's like everything that kind of is attached to that. So there's people that are probably looking for that. But I also think like not necessarily soulmate, but like the right energy, like someone meets someone, and if you connect, like the right person, even if they didn't necessarily plan on dating somebody that has your background, if that connection is there, the right person is not going to give a shit. Like they're gonna be like, oh, this wasn't a part of my plan, but like this person's awesome, so I don't really care.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so you did just mention that you're going through a divorce. Is it very new? Is that what you said?
Like 3 weeks ago.
Oh
like
my
just
God.
decided 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so I know that a lot of our listeners are divorced, or they've gone through a divorce. My parents got divorced when I was very little. It's part of marriage, I guess, is divorce. Are you comfortable sharing a little bit about your journey and like opening up about like what you guys are going through and how you kind of got here?
Yeah, it's I feel like we're one of those friends that my husband like didn't think a lot of our friends were going to be surprised, and I was like, I don't know, I really think they are. And like our friends that live here in Denver, who see us more than any of our other friends, we told them and they were like the most surprised. So I'm like,
oh,
really?
really?
Surprised? Everybody's going to be surprised. And so like all of our friends live, like we're from like the Delaware, Philly area. So a lot of our friends live on the East Coast, but so this is something that for us isn't new. We've been dating. It would have been 9 years in November. We've only been married for a year and a half. So I think the biggest thing for me, and this is a message I get because I shared it on social media yesterday. It's a decent sized following, and for me, showing up on social media and like being authentic, like is very like authenticity is like one of my biggest words. And so I can't show up as my authentic self if I have this stuff going on, in the background. So I asked him if he was comfortable when we shared it. And so one of the messages that I keep getting from people, and this is what I'm proud of and I wanted to share for this reason, is that people are like, it's so nice to see people ending a relationship and it not having to be like hostile. Something that's really important to both of us is that like we're able to stay friends with each other. And if we get in a relationship, obviously that's not anything that we're thinking about right now, that the other person is like okay with that. Not like we're going to be best pals and like hanging out, but that like he's still in my life because he's just an important person. Because the only reason it didn't really work out is because like it just didn't work out. And this was really honestly like, not that there is one breakup or divorce that's easier for anybody, but you know, when someone cheats on you, that fucking sucks. Like that's really terrible. But there's something to be said about a relationship where like you like we're best friends and we're just no longer gonna do this. It's like, okay, we just have to end things because it's just romantically not working is really fucking hard to like go through that. Because it's like, imagine just like having like, you know, you guys are, I'm assuming, best friends and you're just like, okay, we're just not gonna do this anymore. Like it's like all the things that are attached to that. So it's been a long time coming. For everybody else it's a surprise, but for us we've kind of been thinking about it for a bit. So I feel like, you know, I'm crying less, which is nice. We're like we're able to joke about it and like you know, when we move out of this house, like where are you going to live, and okay, with this is what we're going to do with the dogs. And so the fact that we can have those conversations is really important to me. But it definitely sucks because I think our experience is like everything for the most part did work out, but the things that didn't just weighed too heavy. It wasn't like there were a giant list of things. It was a small list, but the list was way too heavy to like work it out. And they were really related to love languages and attachment styles. So
which like that's like it's ingrained in you. It's very hard to teach your partner a love language that you love. Like with my ex, I know that I think her love languages were like gifts and gift giving, and that's how she showed me a lot of love, and that's how she wanted to receive love. And I'm terrible at giving gifts. Like I'm so bad. And I just remember receiving those gifts and almost being like, all I really want is a hug. Like, because I just like physical touch, and that's just like what I love. And I, you know, I have some friends who are dating, and it's, you know, it's hard to just like, it's hard to teach those love languages to your partner, no matter how close of friends you are, or how, you know, how much you actually love each other. I'm sure you love your soon to be,
I don't know what to call him either.
Soon to be ex-husband, I guess. And you guys have obviously spent a good chunk of life together. I think it's beautiful that you guys are splitting off amicably. And at the end of the day, I saw a video last night about a breakup being like, you know, we're still on the same team, even though we're not doing this together. Meaning like I have some exes where like literally I'm just so happy to see them happy. Like I'm happy to see them with a kid and husband or like a new boyfriend. Like there are exes in my life that I'm truly just like, yes, she's good. Like that makes me really happy.
Yeah, it's compersion. It's like when we see other people be happy, it makes us happy. And I think that was the important thing for us is like, there's so many, I'm very much like it's weird because I'm a rule follower with certain things, but when it comes to like society and like the man and whatnot, I'm like, I'm going to do what I want. But like, there's so many people that stay in relationships. And like, I'm sure we've all seen our parents like stay in relationships for so long and it's just not working, but like, you just have to. And so I think that like, it was for me sharing it. Like, nothing really worries me to share anymore. I've been just sharing for so long. I think I'm numb to it, but like the idea of it being like a stigma that like, we haven't even been 2 years into marriage and we're like deciding to end it. But like, I'd rather end it now without any resentments, just knowing that we both know in terms of our intuition that like, if it hasn't worked out at this point, it's probably not going to change. And so like doing that before there were resentments, so this person can still be like, you know, an important friend in my life. Like that's more important than me trying to like force a marriage for 5 years and then ending it. Like it's just, I think a lot of people, I've got a lot of messages from people and I hate this because I feel like are you guys into human design?
Yeah.
Do you know what human design is?
No, what is that?
Okay, we could like talk for 7 more hours about it, but it's it's so hard to explain. I'm not good at explaining it. So it's like, think astrology because it is rooted in like your birth time, but it's different. There's 5 different like energy types. There's manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors, and there's like all this thing to it. I could go on and on, but it's essentially like this guidebook given to us from the universe of like who we are, highly recommend looking into it, because if you're not into astrology, everybody who isn't necessarily fully into astrology, they learn about human design, they're like mind blown. But so I'm a manifester, so I tend to have like a really big influence like on people. And when I posted this, I've already been getting, and it's only been yesterday, and we're already been getting an influx of messages being like, you're making me like think like rethink my relationship. And I'm like, I didn't even really share that much. But I think that people see like, oh, okay, just because I'm friends with this person, if I feel in my gut that it's not working, maybe I should let it go. You know what I mean? And then I think that's so hard. I'm not saying like I have it harder than somebody who's been cheated on, but I think they have their own difficulty, and like being able to walk away from that when like most of the time you're having fun is fucking hard, like really hard.
Yeah, there's there's like I saw this dude sharing about it. There's like an interesting study where it's like basically the truth is that if you are in a worse situation, you're actually better off than someone who's in a pretty okay situation. Because if you're in a pretty okay situation, job, where you're living, relationship, you're gonna stay there. But if you're in a crappy situation, you're gonna leave and find something better. So it's I hear what you're saying, where like
No, I like that. I
I
think,
mean, Alex, you always say like good is the enemy of great.
yeah, and Jordan
that's what I was
hates when I
just
say
about to
that,
say.
but
Well, I was
yeah.
just about to say that. Somebody said that to me before.
Because
Like a good
isn't it?
a good
It's
relationship isn't great.
Yeah. So I understand. I understand the thinking of like when you're just doing okay, you're just gonna like sit in that okayness. But when things suck, you're like, I need to make this change. But I'm under the impression that the isn't the quote that like um uh great is the enemy of good enough, like, or like good, like when you're wanting some perfection, like when it's like this is good enough, but we like let's do another shoot, let's do another take, and it's like
I
we've
think
got what
well,
we wanted and we're
perfect. I
searching
think
for
perfect is maybe what you're
perfection.
thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is like my first initial reaction to that is, and it's because it's ingrained in us in society of like chasing after better
Right.
means that it has to be perfect. We get to define our relationship with perfection, because perfection sucks. So like, it's not you don't want to chase after that, but you can figure out what your version of like really great means. And again, go full circle moment, going back to that fear of success, fear of change. It's like, if you go by what you've been brought up with and society, it's like, yeah, if I chase after something, it has to be this like hustle culture and go after it, and it has to be this big grandiose thing. Or it's like, well, maybe I get to chase after, but I get to have like what that looks like for me specifically. And I know for me, one of the issues in my relationship is I just have really high standards. Not like I need perfection, but there's certain things that like I'm not willing to let go of. And so that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but those are my standards. So I think that good to great is, what is your standard of great? And it doesn't have to be perfection, but for some person it might be, but they need to find someone that either is okay with that or meets them where they're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll all just die alone, and it's whatever.
Well, it's interesting hearing
Technically, we
like
do.
it's interesting hearing you talk about like how you like shared your story a little bit, and so many other people are like, oh, I feel so empowered, I do, like people just connect for that. And when people are struggling in their own story, it makes me think of the Elizabeth Gilbert book Big Magic, where she talks about how she was in this with Eat Pray Love, how she was in this like toxic relationship or whatever, and during a book signing a woman came up to her and was like, I love that you told a story about like this, this woman that was doing this. And she later, I'm paraphrasing here, where she's like, I didn't write that. I didn't have issues with like an abusive alcohol, like something like that, where this woman was going through that, but she changed it in her mind just because she was going through such a bad situation, and seeing someone share and talk about it, that she latched onto that. So other people are, you being able to share your story. I know you posted recently on your Instagram, what was it, yesterday or the day before, like officially announcing that's the case. So I wonder, kind of the outpouring of love or support that you're getting, or other people that are in the same situation that are just kind of like stuck, because you're like, listen, I still have love for this person, but like we're just not a match moving forward, and that you have to accept that.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. There, it can go either way, but I think when people see someone do something, a big change or whatever, and it empowers them to like look inward to like what their own situation is,
Mhm.
they can take it as making assumptions about like, okay, I know, like, and that's like with TikTok and Instagram and all like we are in like overload of all the stuff that's coming to us, with like personal development, business development, relationship advice. Like you go into TikTok and you're like, I have autism and my husband is cheating on me. Like it's like a million things are going on. And so I think we have to be able, and this is what I like helping clients do, is create like this inner filtration system that helps you like know yourself really well so you can filter out what doesn't serve you and like take in what does. So I think like knowing what you're looking at, making sure you're not making any assumptions, but also like if somebody making a decision about something, a big change or whatever in their life inspires you, and you just take that inspiration and like apply it to you, not saying this person's story is my story, but their courage to do this inspires me to have courage in my own way. I think like that's where it's beneficial versus like trying to identify exactly with their story, you know. Sorry.
No, this is
Why
this
you
is
yeah.
I mean, this is amazing. This is super helpful for people who are dating or people who are in a relationship. I think that the fear of success kind of feels like the overall theme, which is something I'm struggling with. And not only in like dating, but career stuff too. Like you can build this momentum and then you can be like, oh my God, things are clicking. And then you almost get scared and you like turn the heat down a little bit because you're
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
happens all
wait
the
a
time.
minute, I need escape. Like this is too much, or
Mm.
this is going too well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the fear of success is it's human. And I've definitely noticed with my TikTok, I share a lot about it's mostly grief related content, and I talk about being a widower and life after death of a loved one. And so many people have reached out to me just being like, thank you for sharing your story and thank you for opening up. And that really resonates with me. So finding that authentic voice, whether it's through dating or business or grief, is like that is our human superpower that we all have, is
Yeah.
if we can like share it with the world.
Yeah, I think it's great that you
Mhm.
offer that space because I'm sure like there's probably more women doing that. And so to have like a man do that, I think
Mm.
just
Yeah.
gives it like, yeah, it just opens up space for people. Even if they like don't say anything, you're probably affecting so many more people than you even realize, like massively for sure.
It's funny. I've noticed a little shift in my like content creation. I've been focusing more on like Instagram versus TikTok over the last 2 months. And my Instagram persona is a little bit different than my TikTok persona.
I
Have
think
you?
everybody's like that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's like normal.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that. I like can't figure out TikTok. But I also, when I say that, then the like little coach in the back of my head is like, you don't consistently do it. Because
Right.
when the pandemic happened, or not even the pandemic, because I started TikTok like back in 2018 or something like that. And then when the pandemic happened, like I gained like 26,000 followers in like 30 days, and I was like, oh,
Nice.
this is awesome. And then like as everybody's experience, like no one gets views anymore, which like it doesn't really matter about the views, but it is frustrating when you're trying to put stuff out into the world
Definitely.
and it's not getting seen. So that can be frustrating, but I do notice that like I want to be more like non-businessy on TikTok for some reason, but
Mm.
then like I can't figure out what works on TikTok. Who knows? Haven't figured it out yet. Figured out Instagram, not TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok, it's like as soon as I start talking about non-grief stuff, it's like it just doesn't pop.
Yeah, and it's also
I
like if
want
you
to be
train the
happy.
algorithm.
Yeah. I'm in a good place, TikTok. Let me live.
Yeah,
Swan
it's just like
dives.
if you've trained the algorithm to know that that's your content and you shift that, you could probably do well, but then you would have to consistently show up like that with that new kind of content for like at least probably like 3 or 4 months.
Right.
Which I always tell clients, like they never want to hear that. They're like, let me just like try it for 2 weeks. I'm like, no, 3 months minimum, and then see how things go before you jump ship.
So I have a question, just going back. So you're going to be newly single soon,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that that reality is, you're accepting that and it'll be an evolution.
Yeah.
Is there any desire in you to like go on a date or to start dating again, or are you gonna first take this period to maybe relearn yourself? I know it's an almost 9-year relationship, like it's a long time. Like, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, that's a question I've been getting from like a few people and friends and things like that. I think I'm not attached to anything. My first initial reaction was just like eat, pray, love. Like I have a retreat in France in August and I'm gonna be going on that and then like staying for another 2 weeks. And so like I have that. I'll probably have my like eat, pray, love moment. But I don't have any interest in that because also I've never been single in my entire life. I've been dating since I was 15. So I've always been in a relationship. I've never been on a dating app. Never did like I think the longest I was like 6 months. But even then I was like still like cuz my husband we went to high school together, didn't date at all. We were like dating each other's best friends and then we like connected after college. So I don't see myself getting in like not that I wouldn't go on a date because I would, but not in a relationship just because I want to like experience being on my own,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm going to move from Boulder to Denver because I live in Boulder right now. And so I want to be able to like be a city girl. I mean, I've lived in cities before, but like just do my thing. But I'm also not against like if someone came into my life, but I don't think that would be like right away. I at least probably want like 6 months or a year of that just to experience it. But if it happened and it felt right and I trust my intuition pretty heavily, I would like let it happen. But I need to like be by myself.
Be single.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Alexis, this has been lovely. We're gonna wrap it up here. We wanted to just give you the floor for just like one final thought. If there's anything you want to share with our listeners.
Oh gosh, everybody always asks that. And I'm like, my ADHD brain just is like defaults to like nothing.
It could literally be like, hey, ladies, just wear beanies. Like beanies are hot.
And where can people best connect with you?
Oh my gosh. So this is like a complicated subject. I've been on a few podcasts recently. So I'm my Instagram name currently is changing but it's going to take another like 12 days. So I don't know when you guys release this podcast. Is it like soon?
Like tomorrow.
Okay. So at the moment, my Instagram is it's such a fucking mouthful. Alexis Renee McCloskey. And you probably put it in the show notes.
Alexis Renee McCloskey.
Yeah, but I'm changing it. And I plan on changing it even before all of this to the Tough Love Coach, which is my name for my other Instagram.
Okay.
I grew an Instagram to like 50,000 followers. Then I had some issues happen, had to move to a new Instagram. That Instagram like just didn't go anywhere. So I'm coming back to my old Instagram, which is finally growing again. And so I'm switching the name, but I had to wait like 14 days from switching my other name. So it's currently Alexis Renee McCloskey, but it will be the Tough Love Coach. But if you search the Tough Love Coach, it'll probably come up anyway. So that's where you can find me. I'm typically on Instagram. I'm the Tough Love Coach on TikTok, but like I'm all up in Instagram. I have a podcast called XOXO, your Tough Love Coach podcast. And yeah, that's where you can come find me. I guess my note and last words to the world, especially I guess because this is like a dating thing. Do you guys have like more male or female listeners? Just curious.
Female.
Oh, female, I figured. Would be kind of going back to the beginning when I talked about like or middle, I don't know. Authenticity is, and I teach this with people in business, but like especially in dating, like showing up as your authentic self, even if you're scared that is going to scare like the best man or the best woman away, is always, you might get some short-term comfort by like being this person that fits for them right now, but long term it's going to fuck you over. So like if you can authentically show up as like your weird whatever version of yourself, even in dating, like I know whoever gets when I go on a first date with someone, you're getting like my authentic version of me.
Authentic
and if it scares
self,
you, that's okay. You can be you and I'm going to be me. So like, I think just authenticity is so important. Long-term benefits over the short-term gain of like hiding that. So
hell yeah. Snaps.
We appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, awesome. Still Single audience. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. And as always, you can follow us at We Are Still Single on Instagram and TikTok. And sending you guys all lots of love.